This is how you know that your Romantasy reading is a problem, when the only acceptable anniversary trip is to go to real-life Vitarus. I have no complaints about Six Scorched Roses.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Very good.
Yes. If you are obsessed with Manon, Abraxos, Asterin, like we are, and look for this episode to drop.
13. So excited.
Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show. Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that, so please listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for chapters 21 through 26, but at the end of today's episode, we will have our Spoiler Central segment where we make connections to events later in the book and the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before Spoiler Central begins.
Thanks, Kenz. One of our goals at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same. So, each week, we'll choose a quote from the chapters we read to be an affirmation, a phrase to empower and motivate us. This week's affirmation says, "Words were useless anyway." We love this because we all have times when words fail and our actions speak for us. In the end, words are just that, words. It's what we do and what we are that really counts. We base this affirmation on words spoken by Lilith. Keep listening to get all the details surrounding this amazing quote later in the episode. And don't forget, you can find a printable version of the affirmation in the show notes in case you want to stick it on your mirror or fridge or wherever. And with that, Kenzie is going to recap what happened in this week's section of chapters.
Well, so Vitarus himself shows up, and he is not giving benevolent deity energy. He remembers Lilith as a kid, calls humans troublesome animals, and basically tells her to stop being so sentimental. How rude. Lilith, being the queen of bargaining with death, offers him a deal. She'll give back everything her father once asked for if he'll lift the plague from Adcova. Plot twist, her dad didn't curse Vitarus years ago. He made a deal. The town's health traded for fertile soil and Lilith's life. Generational trauma? Anyone? My goodness. Vitarus agrees, and just like that, her extended life is gone. She's dying. Mina's face flashes above her and then veils. He asks one question. Do you want to live? And Lilith knows exactly what he means and says yes. Cue the turning, blood, dreams, death itself fighting for her soul, and losing. Lilith wakes up weeks later, safe in Vale's care. She drinks blood, remembers everything, and doesn't regret her choice for a second. The plague, gone, her medicine, saving lives, and Mina, alive, completely healed. The sisters share a tear-filled reunion, and Mina tells Lilith to live freely and fully. Then Vale and Lilith celebrate that advice passionately. Vale asks her to come back to Obertrace with him, and this time there's no hesitation. Lilith says yes.
Love the happy
Yay.
ending. But before we can get to the happy ending, unfortunately, we have to talk about Vitarus.
Right? And her father. Man.
Vitarus is here, guys. He's in Adcova.
Yes.
And Lilith describes him as ridiculously beautiful, but not like hot. she
There's a difference.
Yeah, she describes him as the same kind of beauty as like a mountain range or a lightning storm. So some kind of awe-inspiring beauty. It really reminded me of the way Araya described Nyaxia when Nyaxia shows up at the end of The Serpent, the Wings of Night, how she just was awestruck by Nyaxia's beauty. So this is very on brand, I guess, for the gods and goddesses.
It is. Yeah.
in this world and from the White Pantheon and all that good stuff. Anyway, Lilith and Vitarus start having a conversation, and Vitarus says that he remembers Lilith from when she was a child, and he keeps calling her like an ailing lamb. I'm like, you're so gross. I don't know what about the way you talk makes my skin crawl, but it's gross.
It is. And so
condescending. Did you feel that way?
Yes.
Maybe that's it. It was very condescending.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Lilith tries to explain, kind of tries to jump in and defend her town. She tells Vitarus, nobody here has offended you. They've suffered enough. And Vitarus cannot even relate to this idea of human suffering. He's like, what does that even mean? You've suffered enough. Like, you're just part of the food chain. I don't understand. And Lilith makes a really insightful comment to herself about how she and Vitarus are actually very similar because they both don't understand humans very well, which impressed me because I would have just been so annoyed and disgusted by Vitarus. I would have not been able to find any common ground with him. So,
no.
But leave it to Lilith to make a really astute observation like that in the middle of this discussion, right?
And it is so funny that, like you said, instead of finding like all these things to be discussed about, she's like, oh, that is the one thing we have in common, because she points that out, and then like 2 seconds later she's thinking about how much she hates it, right? And the last episode we actually talked about the danger of operating out of hatred, Exhibit A Thomason, and how he acted out of hatred and not understanding. But Lilith shifts from this thinking of how she hates Vitarus to how much she cares about Mina and Pharaoh and the people of Adcova and, of course, Vale. And she actually says, I hated Vitarus, but what I felt for them was stronger than my hatred. I love that. I think sometimes
I do too.
You could get sucked into that, like the pessimism, and it's hard to shift that mindset. So good for her. And it's just so neat that from this place of focusing on her love for others, that she actually comes up with an idea of how to work something out with Vitarus. So she's just a problem solver.
Well, and I think that's a great lesson, because I think that plays out in real life. Like when I reflect on my life experiences, if I am in a headspace where I'm really negative or, seeing something in a hateful way, whatever.
Right.
I don't have my best ideas. Like, I'm not a great problem solver. But when you're in a headspace of operating out of love or curiosity or any of those more positive emotions, I feel like it's way more helpful, like just way more productive.
For sure. I used to hate this growing up, but my dad, he used to take me to school in the mornings and then sometimes would pick me up, and it would give us a chance to kind of talk about things. And I think everyone has this experience. Middle school sucked. And that's where he drove me.
I always refer to it as like the armpit of our educational experience. It is the
really
worst.
Is. And I would always just be negative, not just about classes, but about peers and things. And every time I would do that, he goes, okay, so now tell me 10 positive things. And it used to irritate the crap out of me. But it's so true, because it's a mindset shift. That was a mouthful.
Totally.
A mindset shift.
Mindset shift.
And gotta slow that down. It can come out all kinds of ways.
Yes.
It's that sometimes too. But yeah. It's true. It's a shift, and sometimes it takes work. But like you said, sometimes that helps us problem solve and work out the deal, like it does for Lilith in this situation. And
so there's the secondary affirmation for today, because we already have a real affirmation, but the secondary one is have a mindset shift, not a mindset shit.
Honestly, that's gonna be my new favorite thing with my kids. Mindset shift, not shit.
Yeah. Shifting, not shitting, guys. Oh my gosh. It's my new favorite affirmation.
I love it. Impromptu. I love it. All right. She offers Vitarus this deal, and Vitarus is like father, like daughter. And truth bombs drops, because this whole time Lilith has thought her father cursed Vitarus, not making a deal, but rather he did. And I was surprised as Lilith. I was as surprised as Lilith about this, because I Just everything, the way she described her father did not make it sound like he was a deal-making kind of guy. What about you? Were you surprised?
I was. Yeah, I did not see that coming.
No.
I just didn't even cross my mind that she was either misremembering what happened or that she didn't know what actually happened. I just totally trusted Lilith's point of view and just thought that was that. Like,
Right.
this is what happened with her dad and Vitarus. So I also was very surprised when Vitarus dropped that little truth bomb that
Yeah.
he didn't curse Vitarus, he made a deal with Vitarus. But now you kind
Right.
of see maybe where Lilith gets her savviness and her
Right.
smarts from. Sounds like her
That's a
dad was
good point.
pretty intelligent too. So
Yeah. I didn't think about that. I'm glad you pointed that out.
right.
Yeah.
Lilith goes on to offer her deal, which is basically she will give Vitarus back everything that was given to her father. And Vitarus thinks that she doesn't understand what she's offering and what she's like agreeing to because she doesn't have the full scope of what her dad did.
Right.
But our girl is like way more intelligent than he gives her credit for, which makes the next part even more memorable, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I just like love picturing this part. She shoves some dirt in his hand and then she shoves some roses in his hand. Like, okay, here's your dirt back. Here's your fertile soil. Here's your stupid roses. And then Vitarus smiles at her like, and what else, Lilith? And I'm like, I hate you so much. Like when he looks at her, he's like, what else? I'm like, you are the worst.
It's so
As
true,
this
though.
is happening, like before Lilith can get that last item, she realizes that Vale is flying full speed towards her. So picture that in the background too. This is quite the scene. I do love that he just couldn't leave her. Like, even though Lilith told him, like, you go back to Moby Trace, I'm going to go do this, he just couldn't do it. Vale is hurtling towards them, and Lilith looks at Vitarus and says, me, I give you me. And I feel like she probably wanted to give him a big old middle finger, too. But just in case you weren't already totally put off by Vitarus, he then French kisses Lilith, and I guess this is to, like, claim her in some weird way. Puke. When the kiss ends... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Just these white pantheon gods and some of their stuff, they're just disgusting.
Yes, you're reading the Songbird in the Heart of Stone right now, yes. So without giving any spoilers, if you have also read that book, like Kenzie and I, you know what she's referring to. The skeeviness and the grossness.
Sorry.
Of Vitarus. And no, it's fine. I love it. No spoilers. We're just saying. No. Vitarus is not the only white pantheon god who grosses us out. So he French kisses her. And when the kiss ends, teen years worth of illness crash back into Lilith's body.
Right.
And can you like really break this down for us, Kenz? What exactly was this deal between Vitarus and Lilith's dad?
Right. Basically, Lilith's father had bartered the entire town of Adcova for Lilith's life and some fertile soil. And so Vitarus, being the little shit that he is, made sure that the soil produced roses, a crop that can't be used as food. But true to his word, Lilith didn't die, but everyone around her, you know, as we know, is sick and dying. And until right now, she is legit on death's doorstep at this point, as soon as he gives her the kiss of death, literally. And
yeah, it's gross. The grossest kiss ever.
Right. And I wonder how that felt for her. Like, this whole time she thought her dad had cursed this god, and now she knows that he had bartered her life. You know, I'm sure that was just quite
a lot of mixed emotions, right? I mean, obviously he loved her, didn't want to see her suffer and die, but also in her very logical mind, she's probably like, what were you thinking by risking the entire town of Adcova just so I can stay alive? But being a parent, you get where he's coming from, right?
For sure.
You do anything to save your kids, help your kids.
For sure.
So.
Well, and I like that you pointed out he was smart enough to think of that, because then at the same time, it's interesting that he's the life she chose to save, and then she's the one that worked so hard and came up with this cure. So he must have had some forethought, right?
Well, I didn't even think about that. That maybe he felt like she would figure it out. Like, if I save Lilith, she's going to figure out how to save everybody else.
She's going to figure it out.
Interesting. Interesting. I did not even think about that. Great point. Love that.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now she's on
Yeah.
death's doorstep, unfortunately, and she makes out Mina and Vale leaning over her, and she's in such rough shape that she can't even speak, and Vale asks her if she wants to live. Then Death is also taking her and telling her to leave, and Lilith realizes that for the first time ever, she wants to stay, which because of throughout the whole book, she's felt so out of place. Is that a good way to put it?
Yes, totally.
So the fact that she has that longing to stay now makes me so happy. And so Vale asks her actually 2 more times, do you want this? And Lilith is finally able to choke out a yes. Vale bites her in order to turn her. After drinking down some blood, Lilith blacks out.
Crazy. That was an intense
It's
scene.
intense. It is an intense
Very.
scene. It's an exciting scene, though. Like, do you want to live? So good.
Yes. The next chapter is short, but very informative about the turning process.
Right.
Lilith says that she dreams the whole time. She's talking as if everything's a dream, but you can tell from her description that she's going like in and out of consciousness. And here's what she says. In my dreams, I couldn't breathe. And I'd struggle, and then I'd put my head between my knees and choke up blood and roses. Time passed. Pain, fever, consciousness, unconsciousness. I'm dead, I thought. I'm dead. This is death. Or is it life? Maybe a voice said, it's something in between. Mouse. Wonder whose voice that is. I love it. But I do appreciate that description since turning has come up and it will come up throughout the series. I think she gives a great firsthand description of what that process is like. And you can just tell by her words, she talks about like her head being between her knees and choking up blood, and Roses like, okay, the blood probably happened, the roses not so much. So she's like in this dream fever state.
Right.
And Vale is obviously there taking care of her. So yay, Vale. And we've read and heard from other characters that this is a very difficult experience and many humans don't survive. Now we know exactly why. It's the worst. And no one is surprised, though, that Lilith kicks the turning process's ass because she survives.
Because why would she not? She's Lilith.
Exactly. She wakes up and Vale is there and they have like the sweetest, most tender conversation. It made me swoon a couple times. What about you?
Of course it made me swoon. These vampire men get me every time.
I know.
Vale first asks if she regrets her choice to be turned. Poor guy probably has been a wreck watching Lilith in pain during this turning and wondering if she'll even survive and worrying that she'll be unhappy with this result, right? She's not going to be like she's Lilith, but it's not the same, right?
Right.
And Lilith actually feels, which it's funny because she's actually weirdly comfortable, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Of course she's comfortable being a vampire. So once he seizes this, it obviously eases Vale's worries. And she points out that he came back. He came back for her because he was supposed to be leaving for Obatrace. And so get ready to swoon again. Another swoon's coming.
Prepared.
When Vale was getting ready to leave, he decided he wanted to bring the roses that Lilith had given him back. So point 1.
He's like putting them in his bag of stuff.
Right? And before packing the roses, he actually has a moment where he cradles them like these are the remnants of Lilith, and it's the most precious thing to him. So swoon 2. And while doing this, he realized the whole time the roses hadn't withered. So until then, one was starting to wither. This is what tipped him off that the roses were God-touched and somehow connected with Vitarus and Lilith. Which is why he decides to go find her. And it's so funny because Vale actually says, it was foolish that I didn't realize you were God-touched too, you strange creature. I love it.
I love it so much.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Strange creature.
I also love that, our scientist of the year, Lilith, is like, okay, but how did you know? Like, how did you know that you needed to come back and get me? She's like, how did you know? And Vale admits, even though he is very scientifically minded, very like evidence-based, just like she is, he admits that he did not know. And instead he felt So I want to read his exact words here. I know we're quoting a lot, but I just feel like these are really good and really important. So I'm going to
Yes.
go ahead and read this quote too. He says, "I knew that I would be making a mistake in leaving you," he said softly. "I knew it, even if I couldn't name precisely why. So I came for you." Vale, swoon points, all of them. Take all my swoon points. So good. It's so romantic, but I also love this just as a comment on how sometimes you just know something and you can't prove it scientifically. Call it instinct, call it intuition, inspiration. It's a real thing. And I feel like that's what Vale is speaking to here. So thank you for that comment, Vale. And Vale then shares the best news of all, that Adcova is free of the plague. Lilith's cure was used to treat the pre-existing cases. And I have a feeling that Pharaoh probably led that effort because she gave him the medicine when he left. And so I can just picture him being the one who like organized all of that and got everybody the medicine they needed.
Agreed.
And to punctuate all of that, Mina walks in the room. And she is beautiful and healthy and so happy to see Lilith. And they share like the hug of all sisterly hugs.
Yes. I loved this moment because there's just so much going on. So then to remember Mina coming in. And so I actually love how Lilith describes this moment with Mina. Lilith says, "Because here in this moment, with me on the right side of death and her on the right side of living, lost in a tearful embrace, hello instead of goodbye, we met each other on level ground. Here we understood each other so completely, words were useless anyway." Love. I know we're quoting a lot today, but these words, Carissa, this woman and her words,
so beautiful.
how
So beautiful.
It's so good. And how beautiful is this for Mina and Lilith? Finally connecting, finally expressing and feeling their true emotions towards each other. And it's so beautiful that we took our affirmation from this passage. Words were useless anyway.
Yay.
So good.
Love it.
Because these moments when words just can't communicate the way actions and emotions can, and even in everyday life, it's helpful to remember how powerful our actions are and that they send a message just as clearly as spoken or written words, and sometimes more, right? Which is why it's important to consider if our words and our actions are aligned. In other words, do our actions back up the things we say? I like that too because I feel like I'm saying a lot about my mom and dad today. It's like I would say something and my mom would always be like, "Don't say it, mean it." And I feel like that perfectly embodies the words were useless anyways. Like, don't just say it, mean it. Show it.
Totally.
What are your thoughts?
I love that you're connecting things back to your mom and dad. They should totally listen to this episode, even if they haven't read this book.
I'm gonna
They're
send
getting
it to them.
a lot of great shout outs.
Yes.
And I love all your comments about the affirmation and the whole concept of making sure your actions are aligning with your words, or just remembering that your actions sometimes speak louder than your words. I don't know if this is correct, so maybe someone will have to fact check me on this, but I don't know if you read the American Girl series when you were younger or if you ever had an American Girl doll.
No.
But I had a Samantha American Girl doll. And so Samantha like grows up in like kind of Victorian era. And so she is raised by her grandmother, and her grandmother's very like prim and proper. So she has to learn how to have manners and tea parties and all these things. And but she's kind of almost a tomboy at heart. She likes to like go outside and get dirty and whatever.
Okay.
But I remember in one of the books, her grandmother is teaching her this lesson, and she says the phrase that actions speak louder than words. And that's what my mind kind of jumped back to when I read these words. Words are useless anyway. And as we've been talking about this, I think that's true. Actions sometimes do speak louder than our words. And it's important to remember that, because when it's really, I don't know, it's really off-putting when there's a disconnect between someone's words and actions, when
100%.
they say one thing and do something different, or they act one way around one group of people and a different way around another group of people. It just feels like dishonest and
for sure
not authentic.
And I think like we talked about backing up our words, sometimes just the absence of that, just not back, like, how am I trying to put this? It's just, I just think that this has some weight to it. Words were useless anyways, with our actions being aligned, and that what am I trying to say here? My words are
All good.
useless anyways.
Words are useless.
I just think that it is so important to show up, right? Those actions of showing up and doing the things we're going to say or acting in accordance, not just being absent of it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
hope that makes sense and doesn't sound like rambling idiocracy.
No,
but
not at all. I got you. Sometimes when we do our podcast, we totally have words are useless moments where we're like,
Yeah.
we don't have the right words. The words are not wording right now.
That's exactly it.
But I also love that this is what went through Lilith's head in this really emotional moment with her sister. And this is kind of like a different way to interpret, what we've been talking about. But when you have those moments where you feel like words just can't express what you're feeling and you're both on the same page with that. And that feels good too. When you're like, we know like what's happening here and we don't even have to talk about it because we just know.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Those are just beautiful life moments. So I'm happy that Lilith and Mina got to have that.
Yes, I agree. And they do actually exchange words after their emotional embrace. And Mina asks if Lilith is going to go to Obitrace with Vale. And at first, Lilith is kind of like, well, we could just live here outside of town. But I love this. Mina's all like, no. She goes, I'm not as smart as you, but I'm no idiot. And then she continues, you spent your whole damn life dying, Lilith. Now you've gotten that out of the way and you get to go live. Mina, I love this. Like, what a sisterly love, right? And quite delightful when your skin isn't constantly like flaking off. Like,
right. Yeah. Her personality's really shining through now.
Right.
That she's not halfway dead.
All right. Yeah, no, seriously.
Oh, gosh.
But Lilith then tells her that she never wanted to leave all those times when Mina was sick. And Mina tells her, of course I know, which had to have been so like a relief to Lilith because I know that had been on her mind a lot. Mm-hmm. And so it seems that Mina understood Lilith the whole time, all along. And Mina does leave after this tender visit, and Vale doesn't know what to do with himself now that he's alone with Lilith, which is adorably awkward, playing with random objects on the dresser. They're just so cute because I feel like they complement each other so well. And then Lilith reaches over to give him something. Whit, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I do. She gives him the final rose. So remember at the very beginning of the book, when they set out their agreement, she said, I will bring you 6 roses for 6 blood samples. And so she gets out this rose. But the thing is, because, the whole Vitarus deal is done at this point, the rose is like falling apart. It's just like pieces of a rose. And she kind of drops those in his hand. And Vale, chuckles at it. And then he acknowledges that his formal agreement with Lilith is done at this point. And she can tell that he feels a little anxious, like as if he's wondering, like, where are we going to go from here? Is she still going to want to be with me now that she doesn't need my blood samples anymore? Which is kind of adorable that he's not just like this cocky vampire who knows she's going to want to stay with him, but he's like actually worried about the uncertainty here. And so she does the poor guy a favor and just reaches over and pulls him in to kiss him. So it's quite the kiss. Which is so not
Lilith, but so Lilith.
I know. I love it. I love that she is like, and what am I trying to say? I love that Lilith is so comfortable with him that she will just pull him in for a kiss. Yeah. Whereas with other people, she's always been not comfortable and not so direct. And anyway, so I love who she is with Vale. And it's quite the kiss. According to Lilith, the heightened vampire senses enhance the experience. So I'm a little jealous about that. Sign me up to get some heightened senses. That sounds great. And during this very sweet moment, Vale officially asks Lilith to come back to Obitrace with him and to the House of Night. And she immediately says yes. She says in her next breath, she says yes. So good thing Vale didn't have to worry for too long. And I admire that Lilith is not at all intimidated. She's not intimidated by the fact that she's a newly turned vampire. She's not intimidated about there being an impending war in Obitrace. Because Vale was like very clear, like when we go there, it's not going to be
Right.
easy. It's going to be kind of crazy.
Not to mention
And
the language barrier.
yes, she still needs to learn how to speak the language. So
Right.
great point. But she is so certain of Vale and so certain of who she is with Vale that none of this bothers her. And that's kind of adorable. And
It is.
she continues being adorable and calls him Lord Vale, which was their little pet name at the beginning.
love
And
it.
he
Yes.
calls her a nosy mouse, which also just so cute. I just love them right now. And they start kissing again. And Lilith kind of suggests in her description that things get a little spicy. She also says that for the first time in her life, she feels so utterly at ease with the world that surrounded her. And that is a huge, huge deal for Lilith. This is how the book ends. Here is the closing lines. Are we ready? Vale had discarded the withered rose in favor of my skin. The petals spread around us, now nothing but decaying dust. Unnatural life, rightful death, and Vale and I, between both, beholden to neither, and everything we were ever meant to be. The end.
I loved it. It was such
Just
a
let
good...
those words settle in. They're so beautiful. I can't
They are.
even.
They really are. And
I mean,
love...
beholden to neither. What are we doing here?
But I was like, I love how that's like beholden to neither but everything we were ever meant to be, because I think both of them were in such odd places. I mean, a vampire in a human world, and this girl who obviously didn't fit in and operated differently than the people around her. And I just love that they found each other and that they understood each other and found someone that they could connect with in so many levels. It was good. It's funny, like her giving him... I have never watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette, but everyone knows about the roses. And so when she gives him the final rose, I was like, how fitting. Like, how fitting. It's just so funny.
That's so funny. I didn't even think about that. That's a great point.
The final
great
rose.
Connection. She gave him the final rose. The final rose.
Yeah.
But I do love what you said about them connecting and really seeing each other. And I think that is one of my favorite takeaways from this book, is how valuable that is when someone sees you for you, and how much that can do for a person to truly be understood and to really connect with someone, to find your person, to be seen. And I love that for Vale and Lilith, and something that I think we all kind of long for.
For sure.
It's a struggle when you don't feel like you have it, but it's great when it does happen.
You do. I agree. It was such a quick read, but it was such a joyful read. I really liked it. And yeah, I like what you said about finding those people you connect with. I do want to point out, we have Septimus with his dove, and then we have Bill with his mouse. I love all these little pet names that we have. They're so fun.
Rain calls Araya princess.
Princess, yes.
We've got princess, dove, mouse.
I know, I'm excited for all of them. They're fun.
Yes,
they're fun little
they
things.
are very fun. Very fun. And yeah, I agree. This is a short little book, but this reread of it made me realize how much is packed in there. It's actually kind of impressive, the amount of world building, characterization, the plot, everything that fits into those 26 chapters is kind of astounding. And it doesn't feel crammed in. It doesn't feel rushed.
No.
It's just a great read. I'm super impressed by it.
And I like what you pointed about the world building. Obviously, you have reread these, and this is my first time reading through them. And I'm glad you gave me the recommendation on reading order, because I feel like having, we talked about in this episode, the turning explained has helped with other books, understanding that process a little more, and watching someone go through it to when other characters recount their stories. And then it gives you kind of an idea of the White Pantheon a little more. Then also the human worlds and how they operate and how they view, Nyaxia and the vampires and stuff. So I think it's actually yes, it's a short little one in between them, but it does help with those other books so much. It really does.
Right. Like a true novella. I feel that is the purpose of a novella in a series like this, is to kind of set the stage for what's coming in the later books.
Right.
And so Carissa just did that really, really well with this novella. And it felt very purposeful. It needed to be there. It didn't feel like just fluff or a waste of time. It was a good read. It was purposeful. it was just I have no complaints about Six Scorched
2
Roses.
thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Very good.
Yes. As always with Carissa Broadbent. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Carissa Broadbent.
Yes.
And that is where we end our exploration of Six Scorched Roses, not just for today, but I guess for the foreseeable future, because that's the end of the book. One of the best parts of reading is learning things that help us with this messy adventure we call life. And each episode, we strive to share a true story that connects to lessons learned in the chapters we read. If you remember, last episode, we did not share a true story because we couldn't think of one. So we wanted to extend the same invitation. If you have a true story that connects with something in Six Scorched Roses, please send us an email about it. Our email is really easy. It's romantasyremedy@gmail.com. So please send us your story if you would like to share. I did think of something to share today, and it has to do with Mina and Lilith's sisterly moment. And in particular, when Mina encourages Lilith to go to Obitrace, to go and live and experience things. And of course, when they're having their sisterly moment, I couldn't help but think of my own sisters. I have 3 sisters. And so I thought of them and just that sisterly bond. But then I was thinking specifically about a recent trip that I went on. And you know all about this trip, Kenzie, because you were a big part of it. And I'm going to get to that. But recently, my husband and I went on this amazing trip to celebrate our 15th wedding anniversary. We went to Switzerland, guys, and this is how you know that your romantasy reading is a problem, when the only acceptable anniversary trip is to go to real life Vitarus.
So jealous of you guys. I'm so happy.
But this is also how you know if your husband loves you, is if he actually does it and takes you. So shout out to Griffin, who is the best. But when I first had this idea of wanting to go to Switzerland, just to tell you guys, I did want to go to Switzerland before I read ACOTAR. It's always been on my bucket list. I don't want to sound like a total psycho. But ACOTAR just like fed the fire of wanting to go there. And so when I first started really thinking about this, I had a lot of doubts about making it happen. I thought, that is very far away. I have 3 kids. I don't know I feel nervous about leaving them for an international trip. I just had a million reasons to not do this fun trip. And every time I brought it up, though, to you, Kenzie, or one of my sisters, Nell, if you're listening, I'm thinking of you specifically on this, or even a few of my friends, friend Liza, she and I had some conversations about this. Everybody was very encouraging about creating this experience and making it happen and saying, no, like, you should go. Nobody said, yeah, you're right. Like, it would not be advisable for you to leave your children for a week. Nobody said, yeah, that's too hard. Don't do that. Don't make those plans. Don't go to Switzerland. But all of these sister figures in my life were like, yes, do it. Go to Switzerland. Even to the point of stepping in and saying, you know what? I will come and help you watch your kids. Like Liza said, hey, I can come down from Austin and I can help you watch your kids. Or you, Kenzie, who did actually end up being the one who helped watch my kids along with our sweet mother-in-law.
Yes.
Or Nell said, well, what if you flew to Seattle and then dropped your kids off at my house and flew from there? But it just, as I was reading this experience between Mina and Lilith, it made me think about this and the conversations I had with the sisters in my life and how they were very much like Mina, saying, you should do it. Like, go have this adventure. Go to Switzerland. And so I did. I think if I hadn't been encouraged so much by all of these awesome sisters, I don't think I would have gone, because I had so many reasons not to go. So I love when sisters or friends who are like sisters give you this encouragement to do something a little riskier, do something adventurous, because sometimes we need that sisterly love to give us that extra push. So that is my true story today.
I love that one. And I'm so glad you guys went, because I could live vicariously through you.
Well, I will push you to go on your own trip in the future.
No, that's so great. And as someone who doesn't have any blood sisters, it's so true and I think it's so important to have those sister figures in your life, and thanks for being one of them.
And yes. My pleasure, truly.
Well, real quick before we go, let's take a moment to express our gratitude for one of our sister figures here, Mina. She is someone that she's a character who we admire from this stretch of chapters. And so here is our thank you note. Dear Mina, thank you for being the sister everyone needs. The kind who sees straight through fear, chaos, and sharp vampire teeth to the love underneath it all. You supported Lilith even when you didn't completely understand, and others said you shouldn't. You saw her actions for what they truly were, love. You embraced her when she became something new, trusted Vale when it would have been easier not to, and encouraged her to go. To follow her heart all the way to Obertrace, when most sisters would have begged for her to stay. You reminded us that real love doesn't cling, it believes, it releases, and it cheers. Even from a distance, thank you for being brave enough to love without limits. You are and always will be the sister Lilith and all of us deserve. So from your friends at Romantasy Remedy, Mina, thank you.
Thank you, Mina. After getting to know Mina a little better in this chapter, I want to revisit the idea of who Pharaoh should date because I feel like Mina actually could be a great candidate.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe a bonus chapter, a Six Scorched Roses bonus chapter, Mina and Pharaoh. I'm just putting it out into the universe.
I like it. It's a good one. And I like this set of chapters too because I feel like we've known Mina, but her character filled out or completed, and we got a full picture of her in these chapters for sure.
Yes.
So it was a good one.
And if you've been reading Six Scorched Roses and you fall in love with Vale and Lilith, just know that they're going to be there in Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and it'll be awesome. Now that you know their story, all the moments with them will be that much better. So good job, guys. Good job.
Woo-woo.
We wanted to talk about a couple things before we go and before Spoiler Central happens, because now that we have finished The Serpent and the Wings of Night and Six Scorched Roses, we need a little bit of time to get ready for the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King and Slaying the Vampire Conqueror and all the other things, Crowns of Nyaxia. So we will actually have a little break from our Crowns of Nyaxia episodes. We'll pause for a few weeks, and then the plan is to resume our Nyaxia coverage on November 5th. And during that time, like I said, we're going to be prepping our content for the other Crowns of Nyaxia books. But we have a surprise. And the surprise is this. At the end of October, we will have a special episode. And in honor of the month of all things magical and spooky, we'll be doing a special episode deep diving everyone's favorite witches. Tell us, Kenzie, who is it?
13. So excited. From, of course, the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. So, yes.
Yes.
So excited.
If you are obsessed with Manon, Abraxos, Astrid, like we are, then look for this episode to drop the week of Halloween on October 29th. And I am so excited to do that. Now, just to be clear, we are not like deep diving entire books of the series. No. We are only going to be talking about the 13 and all things related to the 13. So it's going to be glorious. I can't wait. I'm so looking forward to that conversation.
I'm like giddy excited about it now. Like I'm ready.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Yes. So don't worry. We're not abandoning Nyaxia. We're pausing to get some great content prepared, and we will check in with an episode about the 13 in the meantime, and then be back to Nyaxia in November. So from now until the darkness claims us, my friends.
Wait, so good. Love it.
All right. Thank you, Kenzie, for this book chat. And thank you, everybody who listened.
Yes.
Leave us your comments. Send us an email. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you.
We have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check the show notes for those links, as well as links to the printable affirmation and soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
We're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. After this, we'll begin the Spoiler Central segment of the episode, which you shouldn't listen to if you haven't finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. We're totally those book besties where one of us reads at a normal speed and one of us reads faster than you can winnow from here to Valaris. Since Whitney is a speed reader, I'm going to duck out while she does Spoiler Central.
All right, you've been warned. Here come the spoilers. So, first, when Lilith is talking to Vitarus, she has this thought. If only killing a god was as easy as killing his acolyte. This made me think of when Nyaxia kills Atraxas in The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and of how Septimus is scheming to kill more of the gods in the epilogue of The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. So, it's not easy to kill a god, but apparently it's doable. I'm a little bit excited to see where Septimus is going with his plans here and taking on the gods. Now, speaking of the gods, let's talk a little bit more about Vitarus and kind of all the gods of the White Pantheon and in this world. The way that Vitarus kisses Lilith in this book made me think of Misha's experiences with Atraxas. And we learn all about that during the interlude chapters of The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. Misha was literally called a bride of the sun and was subjected to more than just kissing Atraxas. Vitarus was like a level 6 and Atraxas was a level 10 on the ick scale. You know what I mean. If you know, you know. Vitarus does give some great insight in this book of how the gods in this world view the humans and vampires. They do not value their lives at all. They just see them as a source of amusement and a means to reach their own goals. This is something that we see play out with Nyaxia. This is something we see play out with Shikit, with Serana. And the only goddess I'm still trying to figure out is Acacia, because she has shown up to help Araya and Rain, to help Misha and Asar. She didn't strike down Atreus and Selena for murdering the Sight Mother. So I'm just trying to figure out what her end game is here, because her approach seems to be very different from the other gods and goddesses in the world. So I'm very curious to see how Acacia continues to show up as the Crowns of Nyaxia series continues. Last, let's talk about Lilith's turning process. I couldn't help but mentally keep comparing her experience to Rain's experience, which we will really get into when we deep dive Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, but I wanted to do a little bit right now. Vale asks her repeatedly, "Do you want to live?" And Lilith understands what he is asking, understands she will be turned into a vampire, essentially. And that makes it very different from Rain's experience. Even though Nekulai did ask the exact same question, "Do you want to live?" he did not understand that that meant he was about to be turned into a vampire. And where Lilith immediately felt comfortable and at ease with like her new vampire self, more herself than she had ever felt as a human, in fact, Rain was the opposite. It took him years to really accept that this was his life and who he was now. And he even went back to his human family, and that did not go well. So just so interesting to compare and contrast their experiences of being turned and becoming vampires a little bit. That is actually all I have for Spoiler Central today. Thank you so much for listening to Romantasy Remedy. And remember, we will be taking a pause from our weekly episodes to prep some content for The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King and Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which are the next books in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. But before that, please look for our special episode about the 13 from the Throne of Glass series, which will be dropping on October 29th. Happy Halloween. And then our first episode for Ashes and the Star-Cursed King will be November 5th. So thank you so much for listening, and can't wait to come back and talk about all these fun things in a few weeks. Thank you. Bye.